In these notes, we're going to do two different type of word problems. The first one is perimeter, which means adding the outside of any shape. So adding all of the sides of a given shape. Now, it's really important that you know that it's adding and not multiplying, because that's going to help us visualize what's actually going on. So in example 1, it says the length of a rectangle. So we know that we're going to have a rectangle, and that the length of it is 5 centimeters less than twice its width, and the perimeter of that rectangle is 26 centimeters. So we know that it's going to equal 26 centimeters. Now, the nice thing about a rectangle is that the top and bottom are the same and the two sides are the same. So these sides right here, the shorter sides, we are just going to call width. Because notice this, it says dimensions. Dimensions means the width and the length, which is what we're looking for. We don't know. Now, students really struggle with this part right here. It says the length of a rectangle is 5 centimeters less than twice its width. So sometimes you're going to have to translate English to math. So we know that length is going to be our L. We don't care about that part. We already have the triangle or the rectangle drawn. The word is translates to the equal. We already know 5. We don't really need to know the centimeters right now. Eventually we will. But then these two words, less than. Less than in this case means minus. Then we have twice, which is 2 times. And then once again, we don't know the width. So right now we have L equals 5 minus 2W. However, sometimes when you are translating English into math, there's not a correct translation. So what you have to do when you have less than, you have to switch the two terms. You have to have 2W first minus the 5. If not, your whole problem will be incorrect. So notice that I put it on top and bottom of the rectangle because that's our length. Now perimeter, which we mentioned up above, says adding. So we're going to add all of the sides. So I'm going to start with the top, and all I'm doing right now is writing the top down. So 2W minus 5 plus the right-hand side of the rectangle plus the bottom of the rectangle, and then plus the left side. And all of that equals 26 because that's what it said in the problem. Now you're just going to do like terms. 2W plus 1W plus another 2 plus W gets you 6W. Now the like terms here are negative 5 and negative 5. Negative 5 plus negative 5 is negative 10 equals the 26. So it just becomes a friendly two-step now. You can also do that from the diagram. You can add up all the blues or all the W's and then all the constants together, and you're going to get the same. So then we're going to add 10 to both sides. Divide by 6. We are going to get the width is 6 centimeters. Now what you want to do with that is plug it back into this L equals. Notice that we have to switch it. I already mentioned why we do. So that is what we're going to bring back down. And now we're going to use. We're going to put that L equals 2W minus 5 to work. We're going to plug that 6 in to that W. And then 2 times 6 is 12. Take away 5. We get 7 centimeters. And now we just write a simple sentence explaining what the 7 and 6 are, and then we'll go on to your turn. So the length is 7 centimeters. And the width is 6 centimeters. Make sure you use the units because that's going to be very important moving forward. Now your turn. It says the length of the rectangle is 8 inches more. So remember, we're translating that part. Length is L. The word is means equal. 8 more than its width. Now you don't necessarily have to switch more than because when you add two terms together, it doesn't matter which one's on the left and right. But if you want to get in that habit of switching, that's actually what I recommend doing. And then we said that the perimeter equals 24. So once again, I'm going to draw my rectangle. My two sides are always going to be W. Now I have W plus 8 over here, W plus 8 over here. The top and bottom are the same because it's a rectangle. So then we just combine like terms. We have W plus W plus W plus W gets me that 4W. And then we have that plus 8 plus 8. 8 plus 8 gets you that 16 equals the total 24. So then we're going to minus 16 on both sides. And then 24 minus 16 is 8. Divide by 2. And then we're going to have W equals 2. Now what you want to do next is plug it in to that yellow equation. L equals W plus 8. So L equals 2 plus 8. And then L equals 10. So the length is 10 inches. And the width is 2. So the nice thing about perimeter problems are in Algebra 1, really all we're going to be dealing with is a rectangle. But if we choose to do a different shape, the different shape, you do the exact same thing. If it's a triangle or whatever shape we may give you. Now the second type of word problem that we're going to cover is called consecutive numbers. So what do consecutive numbers mean? Consecutive means it happens in a row. There's a pattern to it. None usually are skipped. So if you can say famous sports team won 3 consecutive NBA championships. That means in a row they won 3 championships. So you can say, what do consecutive numbers mean? They are numbers that happen in a row. So like 1, 2, 3 are consecutive. 5, 6, 7. 100, 101, 102. Those are consecutive numbers. Now it says the sum of 2. So we know that we're going to be talking about 2 numbers. Is negative 47. So I know the word sum means add. I know we're going to be dealing with 2 numbers. And their total is going to be negative 47. We don't know what those 2 numbers are. So that's what our unknown is going to be about. We have to identify. We know that we need a first number. And we know that we need a second number. When we have an unknown like that, we choose the variable. So in some classes, you may use an N for number. I like to use the X just because that's a variable that we're used to. But please note that there is no difference. Now the first number, I'm just going to call x because we don't know it. We have to do something to x to get the second number. So what I do in class is usually write on the side and I say, okay, pick a number. 13 is my favorite number, so I'll pick 13. I want the next consecutive number. So you should be thinking, okay, the consecutive number of 13, the next number is 14. What did you do to 13 to get to 14? You just added 1. So if I just call the first number x, what do I do to the second number? What do I do to the first number to get to the second? I'm just adding 1. Same thing that works. Pick any number for the first number. I'm going to pick 22. To get to the next number, it's 23. What did I do to that first number? I added 1. So that's what I'm showing right here. Now the nice thing about that, you already have like terms now. You need to make an equation. We have 1x plus another x. So that's going to get us 2x. And then we just have one constant. So we're going to just put plus 1. Now don't forget, we have that total to the left. So then we're going to equal negative 47. Now it's just a friendly two-step. We minus 1 on both sides. Negative 47 minus 1. Be careful. If I owe you $47, I owe you another. It's actually negative 48. And then divide by 2. You're going to get x equals negative 24. Now notice that I'm looking for 2 numbers. So I just found the first number. I now need to find the second number. So what you do is you plug it back into this x. So then the second number is just negative 24 plus 1, which in this case is negative 23. So the 2 consecutive integers are negative 24 and negative 23. Now, dealing with negative numbers, that's usually the most difficult for students because they tend to want to say the answer is negative 24 and negative 25. You have to be careful. When you're adding a negative and a positive, you're really subtracting and then keeping the sign of the bigger number. So for your turn, it's very similar, but you got to be careful. You got to read it all. The sum still means adding, but be careful here. It says 3 consecutive. So now we're going to be looking for 3 numbers. And then thankfully they gave us the total, which is 72. So for your unknown, you just want to write, okay, first number, second number, third number. Let that first number always be your variable, whatever letter you choose. Now, since it's consecutive, how do I get to that next number? I added 1, so that doesn't change. So let's go to my favorite number again. 13 is my first number, next consecutive is 14, next is 15. So I get to 13 to 14 by plussing 1. But how do I get to the third number? I do 13 plus what gets me 15? That plus 2. So you're always starting back from the beginning. And now we just combine like terms. We have an x, another x, and another x. How many total? 3. Then we have a 1 and a 2, which is plus 3. And that equals 72. Take away 3. You got 69. Divide by 3. It's going to be 23. Now that's just your first x. To get to the second x, it's 24 because you just add 1. Then you add 2 to 23 and you're going to get 25. So the 3 consecutive integers are 23, 24, and 25. Now, this is where this type of problem gets a little more tricky, because remember, you got to be very careful. You want to read all of the words and then just jot them down so you don't have to reread the problem. So once again, we're dealing with 3 consecutive numbers. But here's the kicker. It says odd integers. So I'm just going to write down the word odd. And then, of course, they give us the total. And then it says write the equation that models the situation. So once again, my favorite number, 13, is an odd number. Now, when it says consecutive odd numbers, you skip the even. So 13, you skip 14, you go to 15. Skip the even, you go to 17. So that's what it would look like. So once again, you're going to set the unknown up. First number, second number, third number. Always have your first number be x because we don't know what it is. Now, what do you do to 13 to get to 15? You add 2. Now, don't forget, we're starting at 13 again. What do we get to 13? From 13 to 17, we add 4. So then we have x plus 4. Now, from there, we can combine like terms. We have x plus x plus x, 3x. We have 2 plus 4, which is 6, equals 21. So then we have 3x equals 15, divide by 3. So I'm going to erase my numbers so it doesn't confuse you. So then we have x equals 5. Now that's just the first number. To get to the next odd number, you add 2, which is 7. And then to get to the next number, you start at the beginning, add 4, you get 9. So the 3 consecutive odd numbers are 5, 7, and 9. The most numbers I will ever do is 4. 4 consecutive odd, sum is 472. So I know I'm going to have 4 numbers. They're going to be odd, and they're going to equal 472. So I'm going to write first number, second number, third, fourth. Always x, then x plus 2, x plus 4, and then x plus 6 because we're skipping numbers. So just like always, combine like terms. We have a line of x's. We have 4 of them total. Then we have 2 plus 4 plus 6, which gets us that plus 12, equals 472. So 4x, so we're going to minus 12, gets us that 460. And then divide by 4. We're going to get 460 divided by 4 is 115, which is good because we got an odd number. So the next numbers are 117, 119, and 121. Notice that we're skipping all of the evens because it said odd integers. So the 4 consecutive integers are 115, 117, 119, and 121. Now, notice example 4 is even. The great thing about odd and even, you do them the same. I promise you, if you do them the same, you're going to get the right answer. The reason why you do it the same is because you are skipping a number. That's why you're adding by 2, 4, 6, so on and so forth. It's the same. So now we're talking about 4 numbers, just like before. They're even. So that's just a lookout for, hey, I got to skip numbers. And secondly, when you have your answer, you better have some even numbers. So once again, first number, second, third, fourth. Let X be your first. You have to skip a number. So let's say my favorite number was 12. The next even number would be 14, 16, 18. You still have to skip 2. So that is why it's the exact same thing as the odd problems. You're still going to add the 4x's. It's 4x because we're talking about 4 numbers. You're still going to add all of the constants. In this case, we're going to get 12. And then I forgot to write the equals 100. So then you minus 12 from 100. Which is going to be our 88. And then divide by 4. We're going to get x equals 22. And all you have to do is, what's our next number? 24. The next number after that's 26. The next number after that's 28. I know that because I'm skipping the odd number. So you can say the 4 consecutive even numbers are those 4 numbers.